just during a warm-up skate before he came to Montreal. And of course, we're just going off of what we get. So you never really know. Hopefully he's just out for the month. Unfortunately, it kind of nixes his chances of gelling with any line mates that he could have. It's going to be interesting to see where he slots in to the lineup, if there's going to be lines that we don't want to break up, even with Hoffman coming in if they're doing really well, or if he's going to really provide a spark, hopefully, for shooting if the season goes poorly. And the other one is Cole Caulfield. He, during the warm-up skate for the red and white game, he fell into the boards, but pretty lightly. It wasn't something that you would see and think that's an injury that's going to take him out of time. And the verdict I've heard is just 1 week. And it's a lower body injury as well.
I think it's upper. I think the Caulfield one is upper, but I mean, again, we never know. I don't really trust those things, but yeah, I mean, maybe it's just precautionary, right? Like, even if it's just like he was in a bit of discomfort and like like if this were like playoff time, I'm sure he'd be playing tomorrow. But it's preseason. You don't want to risk it. It's not worth it. You want a healthy Cole Caulfield to start the season.
Exactly.
But if Caulfield and Hoffman both miss the beginning of the regular season, which hopefully Caulfield doesn't, but if he were to, I know we were talking off camera, not recording, about this, and I was saying that if they both miss out, I would not be surprised if a young player were to take not Cole Caulfield's spot in the lineup on the first line, but like that roster spot for the time being in Raphaël Harvey-Pinard. I think, I mean, this is a player who is playing on the Habs second line in this current preseason game, the second one against the Leafs, with Jake Evans and Yoel Armia. And that's, it's a line spot that, like, maybe it's a placeholder for like a Gallagher, but like Gallagher's not playing with those two. I wouldn't imagine that it's possible, but it would be interesting. And maybe he could start the season with them, right? Like, we never really know. And again, this is a player that we just love. We love his work ethic. Okay, Patrick instructed us we had to talk about one specific part of the red and white game, and that was the tic-tac-toe goal between Yoel Armia, Jake Evans, and Raphaël Harvey-Pinard, which the latter finished off on a one-timer, which Patrick then posted on our Twitter page because he's just so enamored with it. And it was a gorgeous goal. Like, beautiful. It has to be said. It was beautiful. And I mean, he showed in Laval last season that, yes, he's an energy guy, like all the energy in the world. But he has that, like his nickname was Lavaliger because he's this undersized player who gets in front of the net. Like, this, he just disturbs the other team. Like, they hate playing against him. And he forces the puck into the net. Like, he gets it in there somehow. It's not always as pretty as that gorgeous tic-tac-toe goal, but he gets the job done. And I really would like to see him get some NHL games this season, because I feel like that, like, mold of player fits in very seamlessly into what the Habs team philosophy is. Like, even more so than like a Ryan Poehling, who's responsible defensively, but again, no one can, like, very few players can match the work ethic of Raphaël Harvey-Pinard.
Yeah, when watching Montreal, especially recently, there's been that real turn towards the work ethic. Like, they might not be the most skilled guys, especially when you're looking at offensive zone and finishing, and that could be sort of a downfall for this team in the past, but they've always worked hard. It always brings me back to, I think, 2018, whichever year Jesperi Kotkaniemi was the rookie.
2018.
2018.
Oh, wait, 2019, sorry. He was drafted in 2018. Yeah.
And that team was just so much fun to watch.
It
It was
was.
incredible.
They didn't make the playoffs, but they were wonderful. Like
They were
it was the Max Domi breakout, right? Of the
yeah,
72 point Max Domi season. Yeah, it was wonderful.
yeah, there were those games where like they come back against that Washington game where Kotkaniemi scores his first two goals, and
I will never forget that game. It
it
was
was incredible. It's one of my
amazing.
favorite games I've ever watched. It was
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. Like it was really, really great. And now that we're talking about Montreal's old number 15, let's talk about the new one. This is an acquisition that the Habs made this week in Sami Niku, who's a left defenseman who was drafted and developed by the Winnipeg Jets. And as a like 20-year-old or 21-year-old, he was the AHL's most outstanding defenseman. Um, and now he's 24. And this is a player whose development was okay. This might not bode well for the team, but I'm gonna just draw a comparison to how Victor Mete was developed here and compare that to how Winnipeg developed Sami Niku, who is an undersized puck-moving defenseman who was basically held out of the lineup because he can't play physically. And it's like you have to play your strengths, right? And hopefully the Habs don't do that this season. Because again, the Montreal defensive core does not need another person to clear the net front. Like they've got like 18 of those players. We don't need more. But what we do need is a puck mover and someone who can also maybe play some power play time, but just a distributor, someone who can get controlled zone exits and just move the puck around the ice. The definition of a puck mover, right? Like move the puck efficiently and protect possession. And again, like you can say whatever you want about Ben Sherratt. Some love him, some don't. I'm in the latter category, but no one's ever going to call him a good puck moving defenseman. He ices the puck 3 times a game, right? Like his
yeah.
passing is not his strong suit, right? And Niku, just like Victor Mete, his passing is one of his strengths. And like analytically, Niku was not a good player recently for the Jets. But that's not to say that he's not skilled because he does have very clear skill. It's just his usage wasn't good. I can't say I'm too confident that his usage is going to be good for the Habs this season because we saw what happened with Victor Mete. But yeah, it's an interesting acquisition for 1 year at like what 700,000, and I think he has a guaranteed like 425,000 in the AHL if he gets moved down. But yeah, this is a player who was bought out by the Jets. And yeah, so Josh, what are your thoughts on Niku as a player, and maybe like elaborate a little bit more on like your thoughts of like that mold of defenseman of like undersized, not going to clear the net front, but has other strengths.
Yeah, he's at least going to be really good in the AHL because no matter what, he's put up decent to great AHL stats. He's
Oh,
scored
he's put in
54
some amazing
points.
ones.
Yeah,
In how many
he's
games?
if he
54, 54 points in how many games?
76.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
pretty
as a
good
defenseman,
as a
and
defenseman.
that was 2018. So that's years ago. He's only, I presume, gotten better. I can't say I know Niku totally like deeply as a player, but he's just glancing at his points. He's going to be really good if he goes down to Laval, which I think is might be where he ends up unless there's like we don't know. Edmondson's also day to day,
But
and we
he's
don't
actually meant to be
know.
back at practice on Wednesday. So it's not at all long term. And there's a bit of a logjam on defense now, right?
Hmm.
So we've got Petrie, Savard, Edmondson, Sherratt, Romanov as like the five that are in the
Kulak.
starting lineup. But then, okay, so that's five. Then we've got
Yep.
Kulak, Weidman, Niku. That's 8 defensemen. One of those guys is going to get sent down to the A. I don't think it's going to be Kulak. It's going to be Weidman or Niku. I mean, there's no way it's Romanov. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be interesting to just see also how preseason continues. Because I'm sure Niku is going to play soon. And
Hmm.
anyways, sorry, I interrupted you. You still wanted
No,
to
no
talk about
problem.
like the mold of defensemen.
Yeah, I would rather see a Niku or a Weidman in that sixth role than Kulak, just for their offensive flair, their ability to put up points and put up goals. Because, as you said, Montreal is filled with defenders who don't score. Um,
For
when we
sure.
played, yeah,
Though,
when
though,
we
though,
played
though,
Toronto,
though one thing I just wanted to note, sorry again for
oh no,
interrupting, but whoever wins out that battle between Weidman, Niku, and Kulak, though Weidman is the only right shot of the three, which would give him an advantage, they're all more puck movers than like net front clears. Like Kulak, not an offensive defenseman in any way, but he was like in the playoffs, he was Montreal's best puck moving defenseman. Dmitry Filipovich wrote an article for Elite Prospects today, or in the last couple of days, outlining just like the puck moving statistics of every single defenseman in the playoffs. And Brett Kulak was far and away the Habs' best, and like Petrie was like slightly above average, but like Kulak was like like wide margin the strongest puck mover. So whoever ends up in that slot, it's going to be someone who is a bit offensively inclined and is a puck mover. So it should be interesting.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it might be. It depends on how the defensive pairings come out because Petrie's going to be the guy that's carrying the puck on whatever pairing he's going to play with, most likely Edmondson, because that's who he played with most of last year. But then that leaves a pairing of David Savard and Ben Sherratt, which might be pretty painful to watch getting out of
It
their
would
own
be.
zone.
I would hate that. I would really, really not like that.
Mm-hmm.
I would love a Romanov Savard pairing. I think that would be really fun, and that would free up Romanov to show his offense and like move the puck and be daring because Savard is just so steady defensively.
Yeah, I think it could be like what Montreal was trying to do with Victor Mete all those years ago by pairing him with Shea Weber by freeing him up. But I think clearly Romanov and Savard would work a lot better because Romanov at this point is far more confident and better of a player than Mete was when he was in his rookie year and probably now even. And Savard is so good defense, like that's what he's known for. Is he's going to be your rock back there. He's going to sit back there and he's going to stop the other team from scoring. So I'm not sure if they are gonna. It would be nice. It would give Romanov a lot more responsibility, which is something that he's asked for recently. He wants to play higher up in the lineup. He wants to have that responsibility. He wants to play in the playoffs if Montreal makes the playoffs this year, unlike this past year where he was healthy scratched for most of it. And I think that could be a really great way to get him more involved up in the lineup while still keeping him more safe and harbored than pairing him with other guys on the team.
And just to finish off the episode here, who is one Habs player that may not be like a top pairing or top line guy that you're most excited to watch or see progress or whatever it may be this season?
My answer might surprise you. I'm not sure what you're expecting, but it might surprise you in that this is an older player who's been on the Habs longer than almost anyone. And I'm actually going to say Brendan Gallagher. He just signed that big contract, but he lost both of his teammates. He lost Tatar, he lost Dano. And in my opinion, the line started off when they were paired together years ago as a really dominant possession line. Like when they were on the ice, the puck was on their stick in the opposition zone, and that was what they were great at. They
Was
caused chaos. Yeah, And that's where Gallagher thrived. They caused chaos. They broke down defense by keeping it in the zone.